Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The rest of the 9 to noon journey today goes a little something like this. Former Vikings linebacker and sideline analyst for the Vikings Radio Network, Ben Leber, will be in studio shortly. That'll be followed by News du Nord. Then we go up Vancouver way about an hour from now, as a matter of fact. Bill Guerin, general manager for the Minnesota Wild, nice enough to join the radio program a day in advance of the National Hockey League trade deadline. In fact, that deadline is going to transpire about 7 hours before the Minnesota Wild take on the Vancouver Canucks. And we have much about which to chat with Billy G. Eric Hasseltine, about an hour and 10 minutes from now, will be on the radio show. You're like, who? Eric is the radio play-by-play voice for the Memphis Grizzlies. I have the opportunity and honor Sunday night to call my first Wolves/NBA game on the radio. And I'm going to ask Eric some questions about the operation of the job, but also talk about the Western Conference in the NBA to kind of keep the common thread going from what we started with that Timberwolves victory last night. So the Vox will join us about an hour and 10 minutes from now. And then in the final segment, a young lady named Abby Murphy will join 9 to noon. She is a stud for the Golden Gophers women's hockey team. They have the WCHA final face-off tomorrow afternoon at Duluth, and they take on Ohio State. But there's a story behind this with Abby Murphy, and we will share that story an hour and a half from now when she joins us from up Duluth way. But meanwhile, Nacho Man joins in studio 9 to noon.
Leber.
Ben Leber, thanks to Maple Grove Lock and Safe at Nacho Leber via the tweet machine. Watch him on television. It's Twin Cities Live from 3 to 4:30 on Channel 5. And here comes Ben. Let's roll because there's a lot, in your opinion, matters and always has mattered around here. No tag for Darnold. 2025. The 1-2 here. Some way, the 1-2. McCarthy, Jones, McCarthy. Is that the take, like, not only now, but do you believe that that'll be the take all through the offseason for you? And good morning.
And good morning to you. You didn't want to start with get my hot take on the potential trades for the Wild? I mean, I have like a list of 5 guys I think we should get after.
What do you like about Dylan Cousins' game? Next.
Yeah, it's to me, and we've talked about this a bunch, that yes, now we're actually seeing it in action. The wheels are turning. We're seeing everything happen with the franchise tag and free agency with Sam Darnold, and it's going down the tracks like I thought it was going to go down the tracks. And it looks like to me it's going to be, and was going to be, McCarthy and Daniel Jones.
Okay.
And that's how I think it's.
Do you sense that changing? That opinion change? I mean, because it's okay. No. Well, they could lose Daniel Jones via free agency.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not semantics. I mean, it's
no, but I guess I look at Daniel Jones as a nameless gray face that's a veteran quarterback that's gonna be a backup to JJ McCarthy. Mm-hmm. Like it's a placeholder for now. If it's not him, okay, well, then it's some other fine.
Okay.
It's some other backup to JJ. It's JJ's team, in my opinion, and whoever fills in behind him. Yes, I mean there are levels to backup quarterbacks, and it'd be nice to have a veteran presence like Daniel Jones. But not the end of the world if he signs someplace else.
Yep, perfect. And that's exactly what I thought you would say, and that's how I think it will transpire for the offseason. I'm a little higher on Daniel Jones than maybe you are. I mean, I don't look at him as a nameless, faceless box of tasteless mashed potatoes.
No, that's
I
not
mean,
what
honestly, that's how they looked at Darnold, and everybody looked like fools.
No, it's not what I mean. It's like you could name 20 other guys in that position. I'd be fine, but the A topic is J.J. McCarthy as the starter. So that's how I feel.
So it's just not a priority then, and that's where
I don't think it is. I don't think it's a huge priority. I don't think that you really need to invest a ton of money into that spot because you have to give JJ as much runway as possible.
And that's the only thing that where I was going with it, Ben, is because if you talk, starting experience, all of those things, in the same way that we put a $10 million check in front of Sam Darnold, if it is truly JJ McCarthy's team, I don't know if I necessarily would be excited about spending $10 million on his backup. Does that make sense? I mean, whether it's if it's Mullins, if it's Rippon, however they want to go about it. The $10 million then would imply competition. It would imply something other than it being JJ's team. So if it does happen to be Daniel Jones, that money would mean more to me than if it was just another, like you said, tasteless box of mashed potatoes.
I didn't say that.
No, PA did.
PA said it.
Yeah.
PA said that. Don't put that on me.
Yeah.
I
just wonder if Jones is re-signed here, like what the parameters of the deal would be. I mean, they have tons of money to spend. I do believe there will be a market for Daniel Jones. I also believe Daniel Jones is with the Minnesota Vikings for one reason and one reason only: Kevin O'Connell.
Correct.
So that's going to factor into it, and I believe Jones will be loyal. But loyalty, comes to there's a line of delineation there, where it's like, hey, we appreciate your loyalty, take the veteran minimum.
Yeah.
It might not be like that,
Well, it could.
And I think Daniel Jones would be good here if he had to play.
No, I think Daniel Jones would be fine here. It does come down to what his personal motivations are. If he looks at his young career, because he still has a lot of football left. Like, let's just assume that he still has, 10 years of football left. If you take a 1-year sabbatical and you just get some higher education under KOC, and let's just say you go from where you are now on your master's level and you want to get a doctorate and playing quarterback, and you feel like that's the professor that can get you there.
Yeah.
Then why not take a year plus, because he came to us halfway through the season. Why not take a year plus a $7 million, $8 million deal with incentives up to $10 to $11 million,
digging it
on a total contract? I don't know why. If you're taking the big picture into account, if I'm Daniel Jones, I would say, yeah, I'll take that deal.
Right.
It feels team friendly in the $7 to $8 million with incentives to get up to like 10 or 11. I think anybody would sign that deal.
The Minnesota Vikings and everybody else, but the Minnesota Vikings, if they are so inclined, can sign Joey Bosa right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, Joey Bosa got cut by the LA Chargers. I mean, my man's hurt every minute of the day.
He is, yeah.
And between Joey and Nick's run away in the surrogate battle, or the brotherly battle. Here's like who's better and why. They're both good, but it's obviously vetting out or getting squared away on what the physical condition is of Joey Bosa. And I believe it says here at ProFootballTalk.com, with a $12.36 million bonus due next week, and the Chargers unwilling to fork over the cash. The team that made Joey Bosa the third overall pick in the 2016 draft has cut him. As a vested veteran, he immediately becomes a free agent, can sign with anybody at any time. And the PFT crew thinks there's going to be a frenzy of suitors for the 5-time Pro Bowler services. Would you be part of said frenzy?
I wouldn't think so as a Minnesota Viking. We have some pretty rock star proven outside rushers.
He's strictly edge guy.
He's strictly hand in the dirt. More of a 4-3 guy.
Yeah. There he goes.
I don't think that because of the injury history, you want to play him on 80% of your snaps. He's going to be more of a 50%, mostly passing downs. And yeah, there's position flexibility, I think, if you can move those other pieces around. I just think that we need to look at guys that can maybe play a little bit more consistently with their hand on the ground in a base situation, and then finding more pass rushing help on the inside part of our defense.
Like a 3-4 defensive end.
Yeah.
3-4 D, and size-wise, I think he'd be big enough to do that.
I think he'd be big enough. It's the injury thing, and whether or not he's motivated to play the run in that situation. I mean, he would bring an awesome veteran presence. He, for sure, I think on paper, you'd have to honor him at least for the first third of the season. Every offense, you'd be like, oh boy, how do we get around this defense and how we protect our quarterback with these guys? And that's not even at anybody in the draft yet.
Well, it's crazy, too, with his snaps. You mentioned it, Ben. He only played 50% of snaps this year.
Wow.
And he did make 14 games, but he played a total of 14 the 2 previous seasons.
Yeah.
So having to constantly meter that, I mean, we've had to deal with that with maybe some other players, like an Aaron Jones, making sure that he's constantly fresh. I'd have a hard time with that one with him.
Yeah, I don't want to put him in the Davenport situation because Davenport seems like he is just cashing checks wherever he goes, just based on potential and like
he's on the Michael Pierce plan.
Yeah, he doesn't even look like a guy that wants to play. He's like, I got another knee thing that popped up. Let me go ahead and collect.
Right?
Yeah, I can just collect my check. But
who the heck's going to sign Marcus Davenport's a free agent?
He's done. I think he's done. He's done.
How do you eyeball the owner of the team and explain why you're spending that man's money on this guy?
You can't. I mean,
it's happened 3 times before, but sir, with his fourth team, this is the one that's going to work.
Just listen to him. He's a changed man. He's a changed man. But the thing is, when you look at him and you watch him play, though, we're talking Marcus Davenport now, like
the best.
He's a monster.
I know.
And it's like
for 4 minutes.
Yeah, if this. You understand why he's a valuable asset when he's willing to be out there and he's playing healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I'm like, Bosa's certainly not in this situation, but I know when you look at him and you're like, wow, that's a specimen. Yeah. And then you watch him play those 50% of the snaps that he played last year, like that's a mother right there. And if he's in the right situation with the right pass rushers and the people around him, I mean, in spot duty, he can still be a menace.
Well, I giggle because I referenced the name Michael Pierce. I'll just never forget how that thing went down. I mean, we gave him everything. And then COVID hits, and it's like he had supposedly had some type of respiratory deal. Personally speaking, I think he couldn't find his albuterol inhaler underneath the passenger seat in his car or something. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, hey, we're not going to shortchange what during that time, what the respiratory situation he had. All I know is he got to keep the money he got here. He never played, and the next time I saw him with the Baltimore Ravens, he looks like a combo of Vince Wilfork, Casey Hampton, and Pat Williams. Yeah. Like, what the hell happened here?
I know. He expanded, didn't he?
Well, yeah. And so did his bank account. I mean, seriously, you talk about playing the game. All right. What would you think if the Minnesota Vikings' first 3 moves for new players? All right. And this is not dreamscape because I ain't dreaming about it, but, it could happen. Say Jonathan Allen, he's not going to play for Washington.
No.
Washington supposedly is, they're either going to cut him if they can't trade him or they're going to trade him if they can't cut him. So say you go bang, bang, bang. You somehow weave your way to Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle, Alabama, but currently with the Commanders. And you sign Joey Bosa to a fair deal, and then you splash with Milton Williams, the defensive tackle for Philly, like 4 minutes into free agency on Monday. If that happened, what would you think?
I would say
it's badass.
We signed one too many defensive tackles in that situation.
Does Fabian Moreau have a cousin that can play corner?
I know that's the thing. It's like, are we gonna not? I know that. Listen, all of us around here, we're big believers in the pass rush is going to help out the secondary first and foremost. It's not the other way around. Yeah. And so, you can maybe get away with some lower tier corners if you've got pass rush like that. But boy, to not address cornerback at all.
Yeah. No, those would be the first 3. Remember, they had like 9 last year.
Well, that's true. You're saying
we still
just
got 6 to go. May not be DJ Reed, but if it's Carlton Davis, I'm cool. If it's a recovered Carlton Davis, a healthy Carlton Davis, I'm cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of cornerback. There's a lot of younger cornerbacks that I think that we could either be tier 1 guys and actually get, go after, or really high quality tier 2 guys that kind of need a fresh start. Some of these guys are either coming off a little bit of injury or they're just maybe in a bad scheme, and we can give them a fresh start on a really, I think, affordable deal. So now that I'm completely understanding you, I wouldn't be totally mad with really bolstering a defensive front like that.
There you go.
And then just saying, all right, guys, the second wave, we're going to focus on, corner, maybe a safety, and then maybe we get a veteran offensive guard.
Okay, before Uncle Milty, this personal opinion, and this is not dreamscaping with Bosa, Allen, and Milty, and here they all are. It's Byron Murphy Jr. Yeah. They have to re-sign him.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen.
Absolutely. Oh, you do?
Yeah, based on his social media.
Oh, okay.
He put out a montage video of him and from I think this last season making plays with the Vikings. It was like, sort of out of nowhere, he's got a video montage of himself in a Vikings uniform. I think something happens in the next 24 hours.
Okay. Oh, cool. Because when I crafted it for you, and I mentioned it yesterday, it just started to hit me. They have to do this.
Yeah.
Because he's somebody back there who knows the plays. So I mean that obviously matters in situations. But, I mean, he was good. He had moments where he wasn't that great. But, I mean, overall, Byron Murphy Jr. is a stabilizing presence as a corner here, gets Flores bit. And so we're in lockstep on that. Cool. Now, defensive tackle Milton Williams.
Yeah.
All right, the Philly guy. He might get $75 million guaranteed, plays an average of 29 snaps a game. So he'd be paid on future expectations.
For sure.
Yeah, that's one thing that bugs me when I hear some free agency commentary. It's like, wait, he's done this. Well, it's not what he's done. It is in part. The majority of it is what they believe he's going to do.
Yeah.
And then that's where, you'll get what you think. People will be like, well, that's a player-friendly deal. Actually, it's a team-friendly deal if we can see the future. That's what they hope it is. So he'd be paid on future expectations. If you're Minnesota, do you make sure you get him? If it's like if on the second floor in the sneaky draft room or wherever at TCOPC they have these meetings. If it's like whether it's O'Connell leading it, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, Mark and/or Ziggy Wilf, whomever's leading it, saying, I don't care what it costs. We ain't going to tell anybody. Let's not let this leak. I don't care what it costs. Byron Murphy Jr. and Milton Williams are to be on this team.
It is difficult because he was such a rotational guy.
Right.
Do you see him as a rotational guy in our defense? Do you see him playing more consistently on first and second down? I don't know. I guess we're not in those meetings. If they feel strongly that they're going to get a lot more snaps out of him and he's going to be a 65% snap per game, then I would say go ahead and spend some money on him because I think he has got a lot of future upside. Yeah. And you're right. You do get paid for a little bit of past performance, but also that is catapulting you into what are future returns on this type of player based on what he's done. You look at the age and all this other stuff. So if we had to go after a guy like that, I think we'd be really excited. I know the fans would be excited because he had a great showing in the back half of the season for the Super Bowl champs, and he is a hot name, and we just love feeling like we are in the running for Tier 1 players.
Let's be real.
And
had you heard of him until last year? Either had I.
No, and that's fine. I mean, that's where a lot of players like exceed expectations. If you're,
but we'd heard of Grenard and Van Ginkel and Aaron Jones and Cashy. We'd heard of all those guys at least.
Kinda.
Yeah, I mean Van Ginkel.
Van Ginkel, you had to kind of like do a little research on.
I thought you're like Clay Matthews for a minute.
And even still, he has such a unique style in which he plays. You're like, well, I mean, he is relentless. He's maybe not your prototypical bendy guy off the edge and all this. He's not overly big. There was still a lot of curiosity. I'm like, well, how's he going to fit into this defense? Yeah, I would be okay with Williams. I'd be really okay with Javon Kinlaw. I've always been a big fan of his. He's going to be available from the Jets, it sounds like.
Now, Javon Kinlaw started his career in a very difficult spot. I mean, not only did he get hurt, but he was the centerpiece name that led to DeForest Buckner leaving the Covenant and going to Indianapolis. I mean, DeForest is the bomb, and I know you're a big fan too, but it was a contractual thing for the Niners. And being the guy, it's like, okay, well, I might not be as good as DeForest out of the gate. Can I get a little time here?
Yeah.
He just came in it behind the proverbial 8 ball. Then he got himself hurt. That's an interesting name.
And I think that he kind of wrecked our game a little bit when we were with the Jets in London. I mean, I feel like we had called his name a few times in that game just because he is such a little game wrecker on the inside. You know, there's a lot of rumors we might have to get in a little bit of a bidding war with the Niners.
I'm digging that name.
With the Niners, because Saleh went back there as a DC, and they obviously have the connections from the Jets. So whether that's a special connection, a special bond, I don't know. But here's a veteran guy that I think can give us some immediate help on the inside. And maybe you don't have to get in a big bidding war, unlike the sexy name that is Milton Williams.
So lastly here on this, be an elite schematic mind. If you have Milton Williams and you have Harrison Phillips, like, do they play together? Like is that the local version of the Georgia kids for Florida? I mean, for Philadelphia? Like, how's that work?
Yeah, it could work. I don't know if it would work necessarily on first and second down against the run, but I think that you definitely could have them out there in both of them in some sort of sub packages where we get a little bit more creative with their front, and it's not just like the standard sort of 3-4 look. So yeah, there are times and situations where they both could be out there. But I would say more often than not, you're going to see Williams out there sans Harrison Phillips.
Is DJ Reed the free agent corner for the Jets? Is he going to break the bank?
He might.
Is that a big ticket bit?
I think so. I mean, it seems like there are a lot of corners out there, maybe not tier 1 corners, but he seems to have the mental makeup that you're looking for. Now, whether or not you believe his 5'9" or 5'10" frame is requisite of what you're looking for as a defense on an outside corner. You know, you want to trust him all the time in a shutdown situation, because it sounds like, again, and then the feeling is, maybe that doesn't sound like, but the feeling is we're going to play more man coverage in this upcoming season. Is he a guy that you trust in man coverage consistently through, 65, 70 snaps a game? I don't know. Charvarius Ward is another guy that I'm kind of looking at. He's a little bit taller. He's a bigger corner on the outside. He's in San Fran. He had a down year, but he was a second-year All-Pro 2 seasons ago. He's going to be available on the market as well.
He's the one who ripped the ball from Addison, then Addison ripped it from him and scored on that Monday Night Football game.
Is that right? Yeah. And then I'm going to butcher this guy's name. Igbenani. Noah Igbenani from Washington. I like his style and his game as well. He could be a guy that we look at as far as a cornerback. If my guess is we look more cornerback in free agency than we do in the draft. So
he's playing fast, everybody.
Hardcore football.
Make sure to watch Twin Cities Live today, 3 to 4:30 on Channel 5 with our beloved Nacho. We have more football conversation for Ben Leber around the corner. You're listening to The Fan.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
And he's Leber. 9 to noon.
Bill Guerin, general manager of the Minnesota Wild, joins from Vancouver about 30 minutes from now to discuss the Wild, the team with the winningest record of all teams in the NHL on the road, plus a trade deadline day tomorrow. Bill Guerin about 30 minutes from now. Welcome back to 9 to noon. Ben Leber at Nacho Leber via Twitter. Ben Johnson, coach of the Chicago Bears. It can be argued that he's playing faster than them all right now by not sweating free agency and instead trading for offensive linemen. I mean, he's not going to wait. Like, okay, you got Brandon Sheriff and you got all these guys and everything. You guys can go ahead and bid on it. I'm going to trade for guys, and not even have to deal with it. I mean, that has some next level. That has some next level to it. Jonah Jackson from the Rams, Joe Tooney for a 2026 fourth from the Kansas City Chiefs. What do you think about those moves for the Bears?
If I'm a Bears fan, I'm excited about it. I think that you're setting a precedent from the very beginning. He came from a system under Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes where they're very aggressive.
Yeah.
They're very aggressive. They're very forward and transparent about what we believe in versus what the public believes in. We're going to do what we want to do.
Right.
And we don't give an S on what it looks like. We don't care what critics or pundits or experts on the outside think about this guy fitting our scheme and this guy being rated whatever and this guy doing whatever. Like, we're going to do what makes sense for us, and we're going to be bold about it.
Yeah.
So he's going into the Chicago situation saying, I'm going to be bold about what I believe in. And if I believe in taking these guys and giving up some of our assets down the road, then that's what I believe in and that's what we're going to do. And so if I'm a fan base, I'm like kind of excited for just what it looks like. They're going to shoot first and ask questions later. There's kind of a fun approach about that. And as long as you believe that he's got the right makeup and pedigree to get it done when the season starts. But as of right now, I sort of like his approach.
The Jonah Jackson move, well, he was with Ben Johnson in Detroit. So Jonah Jackson played offensive line in Detroit. Then he went to L.A. I mean, it was a disaster in Los Angeles for my man. He got hurt, came back. There was some arguing. I mean, there was some like he felt he should have gotten his spot sooner or whatever. And I don't know if somebody was, like, shh, Jonah, we like Steven Avila more than you. So let's just lay it out like that.
Yeah.
We think he's better than you. You're not playing. The second-year guy from TCU.
I think you're right, yeah.
So he got hurt. He got benched. He wasn't happy about it. He went farther back on the depth chart. Avila played well. And now, talk about Ben Johnson potentially playing. How about McVay right now? Holy cow. I mean, he has Tom Brady negotiate his deal for Matt Stafford, which is phenomenal. And they got Stafford for less than what street value would be. Beautiful. And then now this thing, like, Sean had to be like, what? Somebody took Jonah? What do we get? Or we don't have to pay? Cool, let's go. Call him now. So I don't know about that Jonah Jackson move.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess if you like, that's the thing. Like, if you like somebody and you see something, and he obviously knows a little bit more about his mental makeup,
it has some worse. It's the world's wrong and I'm right to it.
Yes, and I guess I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all.
Well, we can't be because they haven't played any games.
Well, right.
So I guess we'll see.
This just kind of popped in my head, and continuing on with this conversation with the Bears and Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
They're absolutely a running back spot at 10, right? I mean, that's an Ashton Genty. I mean, if he's going to come in and the way that he ran things, the way that they identified not just Montgomery, bringing him ultimately via free agency, but going behind Jahmyr Gibbs and building that thing. A lot of Jared Goff's success had to be, you have to mention the run game and what they built around that. That feels like Ashton Genty at 10 versus, what is it, Rashawn Johnson and DeAndre Swift there. Wouldn't that be a focal point for them?
Yeah.
Doubling down, helping Caleb out?
How much did Genty catch the football in the backfield? Do we know that?
Not sure.
I don't feel like he was much of a pass catcher.
The one thing I can add to this, having not watched Genty a lot, and I haven't gone deep diving on his stats, is I asked a few on the radio at the Combine, the Jordan Reed types or some others off the microphone. And it simply was this question. Is there a Jahmyr Gibbs in this draft?
Yeah.
Okay, because supposedly Genty jumps like Gibbs, has that nice little setup when he gets out left flat, right flat. Then there he goes, the stutter step and everything. And I was told no, and not even close. I mean, it's not what Jahmyr Gibbs has become, but there aren't any Jahmyr Gibbs like what we saw at Alabama. So, I mean, that's an awfully high spot, too.
Yeah, he only caught 23 passes.
I saw that.
In his whole run there?
No,
just last year.
Yeah, his last year. Jahmyr caught 44 his final season at Bama. So just kind of in perspective there. So, maybe that's part of it. I just think, and okay, so with a group or a position group that's a mile long, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I see them, and maybe it's Caleb Johnson from Iowa. There's some other names that via the Combine have popped up as well.
Yeah.
But I see them wanting to address that at a high level in the draft if Ben Johnson's going to carry his philosophy to Chi-Town.
I'd agree specifically after the offensive line trades, because that gives them some flexibility with free agency in the draft. Like, okay, hey, these guys had problems, but I like them and I can make them work. And now we can focus on the skill spots.
Yeah. No, all that being said, I think that you find a special running back just running the football like Genty is at 10. I don't know why you wouldn't make that move.
Yeah.
You can worry about finding the pass catching help later on. I mean, let's be honest. Saquon Barkley's not a great pass catcher out of the backfield.
Right.
I mean, you see him catch the football sometimes, and it's a little bit like watching Adrian Peterson catch the football.
It's mechanical.
It's mechanical. It's kind of like I'm going to cross the fingers a little bit. And like, it's not super smooth and fluid. It's certainly like a weird contrast by the way his athleticism is when he runs the football and he's running through the tackles and his vision is incredible. And you're like, this is a special athlete. Why does he have a hard time catching the football in the backfield? Gentry might be the same way where just let him run.
Great point.
Just let him run. We'll have a few screen passes. We'll use him 2, maybe 3 targets a game out of the backfield. And if there is not a guy like Gibbs, especially that high, or you feel like you can get him at all, then you go with a guy like Ashton, and it's like, hey, he's just going to be a special runner. We'll figure out the pass catching stuff with other players.
Okay, rapid fire. Hopefully we can get 3 in, but if not, we good. Ben Leber at Nacho Leber, Twin Cities Live today, 3 to 4:30, Channel 5, and all of this is courtesy of Maple Grove Lock and Safe, and here we are. Because there are so many good running backs and defensive tackles in the draft, and I do believe that preach. I do believe that it's deep and that's like all over the place. Like many do, but I just needed to get to the combine and hear from the right people. Because of that situation in the draft, do you think those free agency markets are going to be greatly suppressed? Running backs and defensive tackles. In other words, hey, Milty, you want 75 guaranteed? I got 50 for you. Because you know what, man? They're like this 8th ranked defensive tackle that I can get here on this contract. I'll roll with that.
Yeah, I do feel like that they do go hand in hand as far as the market for free agents based on the strength of said draft. And again, we don't know what's going to happen with the draft. We don't know if this is actually going to be a great draft 3-4 years down the road. But when it seems like everybody's in agreement that, man, there's some high quality defensive tackles. Maybe if we don't want to get a bidding war for Milton,
right,
then let's try to position ourselves to get one of these guys in the draft. That absolutely comes into play, and I think that's something that his agent's going to have to worry about too, and have a conversation with him about. Is we're going to press the market, but also the market's going to push back on us just a little bit. So just be aware that I'm going to do my best that I can, but it may not be the deal that you think that you're going to be able to get.
I love, and I've kind of held back on this till we get closer to free agency in the draft. Big deal. I mean, who I love in the draft, but I love Shedeur Sanders. I think Shedeur is going to win at a high level. Do you?
Here's the deal. I think there's some truth and there's some BS about this said anonymous coach that comes out and
the evaluator.
Gets real loud about his
I'm with you.
His attitude and his cockiness and his arrogance, because
it's planted.
It's planted, but the thing is, like, I know it's a talking point and everybody's running with it. Who cares? You know how many arrogant
the Raiders care?
Yes,
because Stefanski might take him. Okay, so therefore, hey, and Stefanski and Shermer, I mean, they're like best friends, and he was the offensive coordinator for Colorado. So you can have plants like I believe this is. I believe it's planted by somebody who wants him to fall to get to the Raiders, where I don't think he gets past that. And but like Kevin, he's not. If he likes Shedeur Sanders at 2, he's not. This isn't going to phase him a lick.
Well, that's the funny thing is. So where I was going with this is, the people on the inside, they know.
Yeah.
They know. Yeah, so like
all
this is just public fodder for people to chew on, and for people on ESPN and whatever Fox and whatever station, radio, TV, just to go ham with this whole thing because he's a big name from a big family, and everybody has this idea that he's this cocky kid. Well, who cares if he's this cocky kid? What does he do on the field? And this is where, like, I agree with you. This is one tough SOB. If there's one thing that I really, really respect from Shedeur, is the fact that he wants to be a quarterback.
You can't phase him.
And he wants to prove to everybody that, no, I'm not just daddy's boy that didn't earn this spot. I'm going to go out here and earn it, and I'm going to go out in here and earn your respect by the way I play. Now, look, he's not a perfect quarterback, and I'm sure that he's going to be one of these situations where it might take a year for him to really go off.
He's got to build up his upper body a little bit.
I believe he's going to be a really good quarterback in the NFL.
So do I.
Because I think that he has the right mental makeup.
Yeah.
I think that he wants to be a dog.
Yep.
I think that he wants to dispel all these preconceived notions that he's been coddled, he's been handled, he's had daddy around him all the time. You watch him play, and I have so much respect for the way that he takes hits, the way that he stands in the pocket, the way that he wants to lead his team. So
I like him more than Cam Ward.
I do too.
And the one thing that separates them from me, and this is all combine fodder, but it comes from people that we mutually know, whose opinions we respect, is you go ahead and put 30 plays in front of Cam and 30 plays in front of Shedeur. Shedeur going to be running them on the field in 18 minutes. It's going to take Cam about a day and a half. So it's a processing thing with the speed of the NFL.
Yes, I agree with you. I actually think it goes Shedeur, it goes Jackson Dart, it goes Cam Ward.
Playing fast. Or I'm going to save the Tom Brady bit. Well, just give me 8 seconds. Tom Brady reportedly calling many of the shots with the Las Vegas Raiders. If that's true, he's 0 for 2. He lost out on Ben Johnson, negotiated Matthew Stafford's deal for the LA Rams, but did throw historical cash at Max Crosby, which is super easy, throwing money out there. Good or bad idea to give Brady final say on all the big decisions? I think it's awful.
I think it's a bad idea. I think there's actually been probably more cases and situations where high-end players in all sports are not good executives. And if you asked Tom Brady what made him great, yeah, he's going to say preparation. He's going to say this and that. You know, he had a feel for the game. And I don't think that, you look at Mike Singletary when he was a coach, goes down as maybe one of the worst coaches to ever walk through the Vikings organization. And maybe one of the best players because he had a feel for the game. He played the game in a way that's kind of indescribable. It's hard to coach.
Yeah.
And when you go out thinking that you can coach and find those players, I think it's way harder than people think. And he couldn't teach. Singletary couldn't teach. He just would say, hey, this is how I would do it. Well, you're not teaching anybody by doing that. You got to break it down and be more of a teacher. I fear that just like John Elway, he's going to fail if they just say, hey, you have final say and you're going to evaluate all of our players. I just think that he's an asset that should be looked at, but not for final say.
You are elite. Have a good time on the TV today, channel 5-3 to 4:30. See you in a couple of weeks if you're around. We have a Vox in the Box next week.
Okay. Yes, we'll be in contact, but yes, I'll be around.
See us. I'll see you soon.
All right, bye.
Ben Leber at Nacho Leber via Twitter. Don't leave.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Welcome back, 9 to noon. Minnesota Wild General Manager Bill Guerin. What is it, 10:51 a.m. Central Time, 10:52. Mark your watches. In about 13 minutes, General Manager Bill Guerin will be joining PA to kick off the 11 a.m. hour. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to News to Nord, and one of my favorite places in Shakopee brings it to you. The Casino at CanterburyPark.com. Feeling the felt, poker, blackjack, and table games all year round. Having sips at chips and tipping Derek Allen and waiting for live racing to kick off in May. CanterburyPark.com is the place for details. And we'll start with the Hoop Squad. Talked about it in the open, and the Bears repeating. How about Jaden McDaniels last night in Charlotte?
Whoa, turnaround jumper for Jaden. 14-footer drops. 13 of 19, shooting 29 points. Jaden McDaniels popping on a three. It's Nick Smith Jr. No good off the heel. Curry with the rebound. Fires a straightaway three. He missed that one. Rebound out of bounds. Timberwolves basketball.
Alan Horton, Wolves Radio Network. We're your home for Wolves basketball. The Fan. Wolves win 125-110 in a very mixed and variety of scoring that took place, whether it was Jaden McDaniels, I mentioned him, 13 of 21, hit a few triples, scored 29. Anthony Edwards got to 29. It took a little bit. He was 9 of 20. It was tough from the floor. Got a few free throws to fall in his favor. Julius Randle, nearly a triple-double last night. One more dime, and it would have been a triple-double for Julius Randle. Now looking fresh, now looking energetic post-injury. Wolves improved to 35-29. Charlotte Hornets are just awful. So in some ways, I would say with this team, it's like we didn't have to grind it out. Got on them early, didn't let up, and the Minnesota Timberwolves move forward as victors. It's a date with South Beach, Bam Adebayo, and the Heat tomorrow night. But as we're all scoreboard and standings watching, the Minnesota Timberwolves still in the play-in spot. They're 17 games back. The Golden State Warriors, now that they have Jimmy Butler, rarely lose. They're in that 6th spot. And just a minute fraction of a percentage point that keeps the Warriors in 6 above the Timberwolves. But that battle to get out of the play-in and move their way up the standings, winning games helps. But they still have some work in front of them. Nice to see Jaden McDaniels and that performance and the team gushing over that performance last night, PA.
Okay, the team is minuscule percentage points or very, very close to Houston and Golden State to get out of that play-in.
Yeah.
Then Memphis. Memphis is the target here, okay? Memphis is the 4 seed, and you want to get hot home court action in the postseason.
And they're 4 games ahead of the Wolves right now, yes.
With 18 to go for the Wolves. Now, Minnesota does not have Golden State or Houston left on the schedule. The team is at Memphis April 10th. That's the 3rd to last game of the season. And Memphis just lost Jaren Jackson, one of its best players, for 3 weeks. So he'll probably come back right around that Timberwolves game. But nevertheless, we'll see how they handle it. They lost last night to OKC. They're not the first to lose to OKC.
They've lost 4 in a row, though, now.
Wow.
They're having trouble. Desmond Bain isn't getting the buckets to drop. I mean, and I did not know about Jaren Jackson's injury. I should know. I missed that. But that's trouble for them, man. They're having trouble.
Morant is in and out with his games. Bain was out for a little bit, but then he's come back. He can be a menacing presence, but he's not Triple J. He doesn't carry things like Jackson does. So we'll see. We'll see how that impacts the Memphis Grizzlies. Actually, their Vox joins about 25 minutes from now. We can ask him. The next date for the How. All right. Now, Minnesota's won 3 in a row. That's their longest winning streak in a month. Minnesota, the Timberwolves are at Miami, then San Antonio here, at Denver, then home games, 5 in a row at home. Orlando, Utah, Indiana, New Orleans, and New Orleans. You win Friday night for 4 in a row, and an 11-game winning streak is right in front of you. And that's not shortchanging Denver. I got a lot of respect for Denver, but the Timberwolves beat Denver every time, or they're beating them a lot, and they know how to play them. So if they can get by this tricky one on Friday night, human nature with South Beach and Spoelstra, we'll just end it right there. These aren't your Charlotte Hornets. They're not going to quit. So you're at Miami. They should beat San Antonio here Sunday. But that's going to be more interesting than people think. The Stephon Castle is really, really good for San Antonio. At Denver's tough. But even if you get out of this thing winning 9 of 10 or 10 of 11, something like that, well, then that will not only get you out of the play-in, it's going to put some pressure on the Memphis Grizzlies. Rubbers meeting the road for playoff positioning April 1st to April 10th for the How. 5-game road trip at Denver, at Brooklyn, at Philly, at Milwaukee, at Memphis. Then the season's nearly over. This is good.
It is indeed good. So good as in the NFL as well. We mentioned it. Jonathan Allen will be released, if not traded. That was a report. Joey Bosa talked with him in detail with Ben Leber. He's been released after 9 seasons with the Chargers. Big numbers being thrown out for Max Crosby, the 3-year, $106 million extension he got with $91 million guaranteed. But how about this? Zach Bond gets 3-51 with $34 million guaranteed. The linebacker had the year of his career last year with Philly. A lot of cash being handed out, almost in some ways of rewarding those that helped them hoist that Lombardi, a 2-year, $40 million deal for Saquon Barkley. So the Eagles just handing out flowers, roses, and buckets of cash to some of their favorite players. Additionally, some news, Tyler Lockett was released, not all-time receiver in the NFL. Got to be one of the most accomplished receivers in Seattle Seahawks history, however.
No doubt.
And then you joked about it earlier, but it truly was Shefty type tweet. Tyler Lockett being released, long tenured Seahawk, and best wishes moving forward. Maybe Pete Carroll wants him in Vegas because he knows him.
Yeah.
But DK Metcalf was like, I kind of want out too.
Yeah, sucks.
Jackson Smith and Jigba's like, where all my buddies going? I guess at least I'm going to get a lot of targets in 2025.
Right.
But a lot of changing of the guard happening before our very eyes here as the NFL still not even close to still several days away from the tampering period and free agency next week.
And there could be trades that take place today, tomorrow, or over the weekend up to the oxymoron known as legal tampering. Speaking of trades, the NHL trade deadline is tomorrow. Bill Guerin, general manager of the Minnesota Wild, joins us next on KFAN.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.